things we know we don't know. Oh, the things we know we just don't know. The things we know we don't know. Oh, nobody knows how loud your heart gets. 'Cause we're a million miles away, but I still hear you. And I'm going, 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 going to get you. Yeah, I'm going, 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 going to get you. Nobody knows how loud your heart gets. 'Cause we're a million miles away, but I still hear you. And I'm going, 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 going to get you. Yeah, I'm going, 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 going to get you. Yeah, I'm going, 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 going to get you. Yeah, I'm going, 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 going to get you.
Oh, thank you so much. Welcome, friends. My name is Michelle, and I am the lucky person who gets to be the pastor of this church. And I am so deeply privileged to hold space with you today, to welcome you in the midst of your grief. We are here because some of us need to cry. Some of us need to be community together. Some of us need to sit in the midst of music. Some of us need to connect and be reminded that there is nothing we could have done to keep Joe here. We're here to comfort one another, to hold hope for one another, and to keep putting one foot in front of the other with hope for healing in the midst of this grief. So I welcome you here, each of you, to this sacred space of gathering. You who loved Joe and were loved by him. You who are so deeply grieving his death. You who were family to him. And as he said in his parting letter, if he ever cared about you, he always cared about you. If he ever cared about you, believed in you, or loved you, he always did and still does. With that in mind, I want to invite you to take a moment now and with me to center ourselves into this space. We come from a variety of faith traditions, and perhaps some of us from more spiritual than religious places. So I'm going to do everything that I can to honor that for us. And also, I hope that we can just love and support one another in this space. So we're going to start with a bit of kind of a centering exercise. So I would invite you to maybe put your feet flat on the floor if you can do that comfortably, to close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, or find that soft gaze that will allow you to focus. And I'd love to invite you to breathe one of those deep belly breaths, and let it out. And if you can keep breathing as normally as is possible, and take these moments now to pay attention to your body. Let yourself be here, feeling some of the sunlight coming into this room, feeling your feet on the floor, your back against the chair. Let yourself be here fully, noticing whatever tension might be in your body or lack thereof. Notice if you feel tension or stress, or if you are feeling feelings of sorrow or deep gratitude. Let Joe come to your mind. The best memories, the tender moments, the joy or deep conversations, even any regrets. Feel what you feel. These memories may bring tears or smiles to your face. Each is a reflection of your love for him and his love for you. Keep breathing, friends. Let those tears fall or smiles creep. Let your body remember, and your breath center you, so that you can be present to this time of remembrance and release. If you would take a few more breaths, and don't stop there, of course. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes and be back in this space together. Well, Gareth, who gets the gold star for coming the furthest from Germany, joining us on the virtual offering of this, suggested a reading for us that is really stunning. It is Khalil Gibran's On Joy and Sorrow. I believe that is from the prophet. And I am so happy to read it for you. Then a woman said, "Speak to us of joy and sorrow." And he answered, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the selfsame well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? And is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood that was hollowed with knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Some of you say joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Welcome. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at standstill and balanced. When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and his silver, needs must your joy or your sorrow rise or fall. Thank you for that, Gareth. All right, I've used up all of my tissues already. Just to let you all know, there are some tissues in the back of the room if you did not bring them to sit with you, and you should feel welcome to receive those throughout the service. Don't feel like you're stuck in the seat where you are. I am very, very grateful to be here again, and I do want to let you all know, Suzanne knows this about me, if I am weeping, it is only because I can feel your sorrow, and I am okay, right? Just as you are okay, even in the midst of your joy and your sorrow. So don't worry about me. We are here to comfort one another. There are friends in our midst who have prepared words to share about Joe, words that come from their hearts. We didn't actually talk about any kind of an order for this, so if it's okay, Aurelio, I'm going to have you go first, and then Dan and Jess, and then any others who might have a story to share that I don't know about yet. And even if in the midst of things you have something that would be good to say, just know that you're welcome to do that. It will be best if we can do that from the microphone so that Gareth can hear us as well. So thank you, Aurelio.
I met Joe 15 years ago at an art event. At the time, I didn't make a mental note of it. It took another 5 years before we connected through a mutual friend, Gareth, at dance music events. Some of you know that along with Gareth, Zyler, and Joe, we had a dance music and art live stream that we broadcast from my bedroom and studio. If you see any brightly lit photos of Joe with a green background and bold sunglasses, that's where we are. Joe was living with Gareth at the time, not too far, and I shared a house with Zyler and others. It took some weeks or months for me to fully appreciate what Joe was bringing to our friendship and activities. Zyler once joked that the two of us were the cats of the group, while Gareth and Joe were the dogs. Dogs and cats. The dogs who took smoking breaks on our porch and had to be reminded to keep it down for the neighbors. The cats that sorted out the technical details and kept a stealth profile and the vibe relaxing. The dogs who invited even more dogs to our house. At first, it seemed like an unlikely mix, but it quickly became clear that the mix was part of what made it work. Joe immediately took the role of coordination and outreach to prospective DJs for our events, facilitating and leading without being overbearing. This came to be his signature move. Joe didn't do things halfway. Once he made that choice, he was there to the end. I saw the same commitment and dedication when he pulled me in to help with sponsor art for the Together Festival. I'm sure many of you experience the same commitment and loyalty in the countless communities he helped sustain and bring together. Joe projected strength, but as we grew closer, I came to understand his capacity for vulnerability. I can't be the only one who had a moment of brotherly love and connection during an after party after a night out. Our conversations would at times turn into mutual therapy sessions. Yet Joe's untiring ability to give and help others did mask a quiet acceptance, perhaps from growing up too soon. He was the dad of the group, looking after others not out of a desire for control, but from a place of genuine selflessness. I look up to Joe still today. I wouldn't be the man that I am today if it wasn't for Joe. I had so many new opportunities and met so many truly remarkable people because of his support. I remember jokingly sharing with some friends how in certain tricky interpersonal situations, I would have to imagine, what would Joe do? WWJD. To try and work out a good response. I still do sometimes. Joe's impact in my life doesn't stop there. I spent a number of years trying my luck at online dating with little success. And having shared this with Joe, he offered to help me build a Tinder profile as a sales pitch slide deck. We spent an entire day taking silly photos of me in a variety of scenes, roasting some veggies, handiwork with tools, riding my bike, dressed in costumes, and then writing captions to go along with the pictures. He took it with such seriousness that we spent the first 3 hours making a top-level outline of which of my personal qualities that I wish for a partner to appreciate and value. That was the kind of friend Joe was, someone who would devote an entire day to something deeply personal, approaching it with the same care and dedication one might give to a high-stakes endeavor. If any of you has ever had a conversation with Joe that touches upon major social justice issues, you know how passionate he can be. I remember one afternoon during our drive to Western Massachusetts for a camping trip, we stopped for a beer and a sandwich near our destination. At a table outside, our conversation drifted into a thoughtful debate about the state of the world and what lies ahead. And I was so distracted, I took a bite of my sandwich, oblivious of the bee that had decided to take a break on its edge. Stung by the bee on the tip of my tongue, I had to spit it out, get some Benadryl to be safe, with Joe rushed to get for me. For the first days of the camping trip, I spoke with a lisp from the pain on the tip of my tongue, and he teased that it was karma for the positions I had been defending. And he was probably right. Joe's opposition to systemic barriers driven by greed, forces that tip the scales against ordinary people, led him to stand up for small business owners and workers whose livelihoods are threatened by concentrated corporate power. He cared for his loved ones with unwavering selflessness, loyalty, and commitment, and was both a role model and an inspiration to his friends. Despite receiving so little, he gave so generously to others. He understood the preciousness and brevity of life and never squandered his chance to make an impact. And he was a joy to be around, his humor and boisterous laughter filling every room. A true guardian of the vibe, with gratitude and love. Always remembered, I love you, Joe. Yeah. Up next, I'm gonna have my friend Dan say some words.
How's it going, everybody? Friends call me Dabu. I'm Dan. I was a close friend of Joe's for years. I'm going to improvise because I feel like I've done the best at memorials just improvising. Similar to Aurelio, I met Joe a long time ago, just through the scene, electronic music, and it seemed that every event, I found him in his sunglasses in a dark room, and he would always find me and shake my hand. And then I learned about Somerville Local First, where he supported small businesses, and I started to respect him. I just thought he was being overly social, but he was thoughtfully and intentionally engaging with people and trying to connect with them. And we had a connection early on. Those were the days where a roommate of mine and I used to joke that he was the mayor. So I used to call him Joe the Mayor. He didn't like that. I actually photoshopped a whole poster for a campaign for him to be mayor of Somerville, and he didn't like that. So I had to drop that really quickly. But he'll always be the mayor to me. So many years go by, and we hang out and we connect, and then he went and spearheaded and became one of the leaders of the Electronic Music Festival that spanned across Boston and Cambridge and some outlying cities. And of course, that being very dear to my heart, I got involved immediately on the outskirts of it. And then I started to see his professional side, his real professional side. And I mean, we're talking about somebody that's like a Six Sigma black belt. He's absolute management beast. And I started picking up on some of that, and it started making me think, me in my late 20s at the time, maybe I should put the bong down and start really thinking about what I went to school for and becoming professional. So years go by, and there's Cat House Attic, and we're having fun, and he actually met with Aurelio and I, and this is a huge turning point in my life. He actually invited me to be part of the core of this festival, and there was a lot of things going on in my life, and that meeting was a pivot point where I really sat down after that and decided, like, I can be part of an organization. It's just the words, the way Joe put things across to me with the intention, looking me in the eyes and telling me what he thought I was worth, that I didn't believe at the time, really pushed me. And everything changed after that. I went from setting up little PAs like this and clubs and stuff to making a pretty decent salary as a corporate AV person, and climbing the ladders just kind of like shook me. Joe had that conviction, like once he believed in you, he could really kind of take you across to a different level. Oh, now I've knocked myself off the track. But yeah, after that, everything. He changed everything. He really believed in me, and he was the person that you would go to have him check your resume. You would go to ask him what answers I should have ready for interviews, or if I should even go for jobs, just stuff like that. And also going out to dinner, often we'd sit across and have those heated debates. I knew he was a person that I agreed with on a lot of things, but then his conviction really came out. Like when Aurelio said, once he starts something, he's strapped to it the whole way. There's no changing his mind. And I guess that helped me, but personally, to cope with his recent decision, because I knew there was not a word I could say that would change his mind, and just kind of had to let it go. So I'm sure a lot of you have similar thoughts tied to what's been going on. And there's the should have and could have, like we had regular plans to go and get a drink and talk about nerd stuff, because some of you might know he was also into Dungeons and Dragons. And man, he loved to tell me about how he was going to put a twist on his whole campaign and everybody was going to get spooked. And if he was sad, I had to ask him, like, did it go well? Are you guys going to start another campaign, or did you lose all your friends in the nerd world because of that? Because he was definitely like this, Yeah, just so many facets of our life. I felt like I could return the favor to him as he actually being immersed in the electronic music community, as most of us were. A lot of us decide, hey, I can be a DJ. And I'm like, all right, Joe, you can be a DJ. And he kicked ass. It was awesome. And I held his hand and sort of tutored him, and I would listen to his mixes, and I would show up at all his gigs, and we had a whole joke about me being his senpai. But he really blew me away, because another thing, where conviction, he strapped himself to an idea and he just kept going with it. And he'd send me mixes from dance hall and ska to techno to like pop music mixes and stuff for me to listen to while I was traveling for work. And whether I liked the music or not, I was still impressed, because everything Joe put his mind to was just solid. He was a leader. And one of the ideas that I wanted to bring was the concept of his personality type being a connector. He was like an outlier to your average personality set, where he really, some of the smartest, most beautiful people I know are in this room right now. People that I have accomplished a lot with. And Gareth. You're in this room too. Just beautiful, intelligent people that I'll know for the rest of my life and love for the rest of my life. And if you connected in a web, Joe's one of the strongest nodes in that web. There's some reason that I know you because Joe connected us. Or if we already knew each other, he fortified that connection by, like, Aurelio and I were friends for years before we worked together on Together Festival. Joe was like, I see and love how you operate, and I know there's more potential. I'm going to open the valve, push you two together, and put you in a project. And it was awesome. It changed my life. There's a lot of you I know here that I got to work with because of that. And there's so many stories like that where Joe made that connection. He was the one in the room shaking hands and introducing people and just being this amazing beam of light, which helped me see myself in a different manner. And there's so much of that I'm going to take well beyond having Joe around. So, yeah, think about that, how amazing we all are, and the potential that we have to be better people. And we don't need Joe to push us to those points, but think about the conversations where he hoisted you up professionally, or in a place where you were sad or struggling with something, whatever it was. I have a lot of those stories where he helped. And yeah, just picture his face and his big smile and his sunglasses. And hear his voice in that conversation that you might have had where he helped you. Thanks.
Hey everyone. It's good to see all of you. Not for this reason, but Joe is always good at that, bringing everyone together from all of his different worlds, different communities, different moments of life. I too have written down some things, but I have spent probably about 7 or 8 different times at 4 a.m. spewing out all these thoughts, and it's been really hard trying to figure out which ones to really kind of share or mention or read upon today. So I'm going to kind of do similar of just reading and spontaneous. Joe was an eloquent speaker, whether it was in a group or if it was at a gala. He was incredible. I first met him at John and Emily's house in 2010 on Halloween. I remember that Halloween so well. It was beautiful Halloween. And Joe was in a blue suit, polyester. He had a radiance to him that was impossible to ignore. And, from that time on, we started dating and quickly fell into mad love together. It was beautiful. And it, I think, went on to become arguably the most impactful partnership of either of our lives. We spent the first year kind of going back and forth, and I got to see all of his networks with Sustainable Business Network and Somerville Local First. Shared a lot of time over at the Bucks, watching football, learning about the Patriots, falling in love with Tom Brady, and always being able to ask Joe any question. And he was happy to teach and happy to share. He moved out to Western Massachusetts with me 9 or 12 months later, and he was just an incredible partner to share time with. We had so much of a healthy dynamic together. Like, we really didn't fight. We laughed all the time. We played Puerto Rico. He got really good at it. I was wondering why, and then I realized he was going online and playing behind my back so that he could beat me. He would write little notes all over the house that I would find, little love letters, and he just was always thoughtful in the most grandiose and the most simplistic ways. And, so one of the things we did in the winter time out there is we had a cat Jasper, and we had our little snowshoes, and, Joe, we would make these staircase like up the side of the logging road on our property, and we made a luge run down it. And I actually have discovered that video again recently where we really got into the grooves of it, and it was incredible. And we were bouncing, and he was just beaming with joy in those times. And in the summertime, we found whitewater tubing. We both weren't making very much money in our lives, and we went out and bought inner tubes for $15, and we decided to explore the Deerfield River, which had class 2 and 3 rapids on it. And we did that every weekend for 2 years that it didn't storm. We would be there belly down in our tubes, holding onto the ropes on the side, and we learned all of the different little rapid runs. And the rafters on the big tubes with the companies would be going by us, and they'd be like, that looks like fun. And we would just be flying up in the air. And it was remarkable. We're like, yeah, and we spent $15 for the whole season. So we shared so many little special things like that. We had a place that we'd go play Yahtzee. We did a lot of road trips together. We made so little money at that time in our lives that our first real vacation together, we went to New Orleans, and when we realized there, when we got there, we realized we had $7 each a day to spend. And so we were like, cocktail or gumbo? And, but it was our first real break together for our time. He was very devoted to Somerville Local First, to really being there for every single person that he ran across in his community, both with work, social, friendships, electronic. I was grateful to be able to bear witness to a lot of his work at the galas. He worked a room like you wouldn't believe, or actually I'm sure you do believe. But just, the electronic scene with Together, and watching the efforts that he did and the way that he worked with everyone that meant so much to him, and that community that meant so much to him. And Corin came out to my house once with the whole crew, and I served them little cocktails or appetizers while I was a fly on the wall listening to how just incredible they were as a team together. And he was magical. And whether you met him for a minute or many years, he made an impression on you that's lifelong. It will probably change the rest of your life moving forward. You can't unknow Joe Grafton's impact in your life. And there's so much more I want to share and say, but I just really appreciate the fact that I got to have those years with him, that I got to know all of you that I do know in this room, and I look forward to knowing more of you. Because of just how big his world was and how many people he impacted. And his heart was huge, and his conviction to making this place better for everyone was just core to who he was. And I'm also grateful to know the many sides of his joy and his sorrow, and his just how he built his life around things that he did struggle with. And I'm grateful that I was able to maintain a relationship and a friendship with him even after our paths went different ways. In fact, we kind of had a little rendezvous here and there. We went to Bermuda, and we're naked most of the time because nobody else was there, and we realized that November 1st is the best time to go to Bermuda. And we went to BPM in Mexico, and we did a road trip around Lake Michigan and saw all the lighthouses and camped in my car. And these moments I'm going back through over the last 6 months and just collecting all these memories. And even yesterday, remembering that, like, on road trips, we'd play this game called Moo Bones, where we'd go past a cow pasture and he'd moo or I would moo. And then if you saw a cemetery, you'd say bones and wipe the slate clean. I mean, it was just like, there was never a moment where, like, we were bored in the car on a road trip, you know? There was always something that Joe would bring to the experience that you had with him. And I love him forever. I will forever be a better woman because of knowing him. And I hope he's just engulfed in this divine light and love that is the way he showed up for all of us in our lives, and the heart and soul that he carried into this world. So thank you, Joe. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, please, come. Are there others who have a word to share while we're in this space? Yeah, please come.
Hey everyone, I'm Jonathan, one of Joe's oldest friends. We met probably 25 years ago. We lived together for 15 years. And he was, in every sense of the word, my brother. I have a brother. He couldn't be here today. He also loved Joe. But Joe was just one of those special people that we connected almost instantaneously. He was at UMass Boston. I had just graduated. My brother was there. Our other best friend and brother, Adam, who also could not be here. He's out in Colorado. We just kind of got together, and I was able to kind of continue my college experience for another year while doing AmeriCorps around the city, and was able to live vicariously and also actually through the times with them. A young senator from Illinois, Barack Hussein Obama, actually gave Joe's, not coronation address, but his address at his graduation from UMass Boston. And Joe and I spoke with him briefly. He obviously went on to some big things, and Joe did too. I mean, very different levels of success, but I think for everyone in this room that Joe touched your life, he was our Obama. He really was a shining star. He did it in his own way. He did it across, half a dozen to a dozen different communities. And he always did it with a genuine nature. He wasn't always successful in the corporate sense of the world. In fact, I think if he was, he would have considered himself a hypocrite. He hated the corporate America, and watching him found Somerville Local First, and then joining the board and stewarding the transition away from Joe to their first non-Joe executive director was a trying time in my life, just seeing how passionate he was and keeping that organization going for another half decade without him at the helm, as he continued to grow and make other connections, get into the electronic music scene, learn to love nature with Jess, which is something that, due to his physical limitations, I think he never thought he could do. There's a couple pictures of him at the Eclipse Festival in the Pacific Northwest, and I could not get him to go to music festivals with me forever. And I was so jealous that he finally went with Adam, and I think Jess opened that part of him out in Western Massachusetts, and for that I'm always grateful for you. He's just an awesome guy. He loved genuinely, and he was also not afraid to tell you that he thought that you were walking down the wrong path. He was super passionate in everything he did. He gave up successful, lucrative careers time and time again to follow his passion. He was always someone that had to find joy in his work. He could never work to live and then find his free time to follow his inner voice. He always had to do it all the time. He could never say, well, I'll get to that this weekend. I'll tackle that he had to constantly live it, and I'll just miss him so much. You know, he was taken from us far too early. I understand his decision. I watched my mom waste away with cancer 3 months before Joe made his decision, and I did not want to see that for him. So I understand why he made his decision. It still hurt, you know, and it hurt all of us to kind of be left in the lurch in that moment. I'm sad that I wasn't able to be there for him more before that happened, but I know that he loves me. I know that he's made me the man I am today, and I'll just forever love him. He was one of the greatest people that I've ever met. I'm sure that's true for all of you. I love you, Joe.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sam. I met Joe. I'm one of the nerds. I'll get to that. We've got another D&D nerd here too. So I met Joe through John, probably about 15 years ago. Knew him casually for a few years, and then got in the fantasy football league, which he was very passionate about fantasy football. It's a pretty intense league. It requires a lot of, as you know, probably a lot of time. But I really got to know Joe during COVID. We did a lot of gaming together. Got to know him kind of through a screen really well, which was odd. And then he started a campaign, 2021, early 2021, with what we came to call the Dangerous Knights crew. And if you're familiar with I Think You Should Leave, you'll understand the reference. He didn't do anything half-assed. He was a dungeon master in every sense of the words, and he was maniacal and thoughtful, and he somehow had a way to improv and let four idiots kind of roll with what we wanted to do, but rein us in when we needed to be, Lee. And it was just remarkable the passion he brought to an imaginary makeup game with dragons, swords, and wizards. It was amazing. It was a wonderful campaign that we're going to finish soon. It was hard to get the letter, Goodbye Knights, when the letter came. I'm going to miss him so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any others that want to share in this space? I'm so appreciative of the words shared, different parts of Joe's life coming together. I think you used the image of the spider web. Dan, thank you. We are all connected because of Joe, even me who didn't know him. And I thank you for bringing him to me. We're going to take, oh yes, thank you, please. I don't want to cut anyone off, just, this is, yeah, no, you're too, please, thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. I also met Joe through Together, and there was something about such a professional guy wearing such stupid sunglasses that was asking questions like we weren't just a bunch of fuck-ups trying to do a music festival in February in Boston because President's Day is a great day to go party. And he brought that mix of, like, he knew how to have a good time and he knew what needed to be done to make that work on a larger scale. And his ability to bring out the best in people by asking the right questions and seeing what was there inside of everybody. Sorry. He would recognize your strengths before you did. And he would not stop fighting for you, even if you were ready to give up on yourself. He saved me from many mental health crises in the middle of Together, usually about the third day in when I hadn't slept for many days. Phil also saved me from many mental health by being like, why don't you let me drive your car so you don't crash it into the river, and we'll go eat a pizza and then we'll be fine. He built community out of nothing. We used to do themes in Together for the leadership group, and somehow I would always be Miss Piggy or the Queen of Thorns. But what we really were was kind of Waldorf and Statler in the back, because his laugh would make me laugh all the time. And just that maniacal grin he'd get when he's had a really bad joke or a pun or just something that you were like, and he would just, I still think of when we did retreats, which was like a concept I'd never thought our band of idiots would ever get to do a retreat to talk about our future with Together and what we had a plan to do. We just showed up. We had a plan. We were going to address the opportunities. We were going to look at, just professional shit that I was not expecting to do when I started. And we'd always play a game called Werewolf, where he always accused David Day of being the werewolf, and David Day would always accuse him of being the werewolf, and it would usually be Gareth, or who's very good at it, or it would be me, and I'd be yelling, "I'm the werewolf," and he just would not get there. I brought a friend from out of town to one of his summer deck parties. She didn't know him, and she was just so charmed by his welcomingness. He spent time talking to her. He remembered her name. He sent her a mix. He was a real one, and he is still the person I'll think of that doesn't just talk the talk. He walked the walk, even when it was hard, even when it pissed people off, even when he could have made more money selling out. The club world in that 2010 era, every single club owner sucked. They're all douchebags that were scummy, and he was just like, we're not going to work with them anymore. And it's like, we're not going to work with this giant club, and we're not going to work with Live Nation because they suck. And they're okay. we damn well aren't, Joe. And there are several women that couldn't be here today. Sarah and Jamie also were part of a D&D campaign that Sarah was nice enough to run. And he saw in them the same thing, and he didn't treat them like silly girls. He recognized that they had strengths and they had something to contribute, and he brought it out of them. And he brought the best out of me. And I will remember his laugh forever. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, friends, I realize that there is probably more to say. And we are hopefully going to have time as this concludes to just connect with each other, express the love and the care and the hope that you might have to continue to be connected, especially when such an important node has left this plane. And so before we do that, there are a few more things that we are going to do. I'm going to just offer a prayer for you all especially, and a prayer of release. And we are going to hear that song, How Loud Your Heart Gets, one more time, and there'll be a time of blessing. So if you would join me in a spirit of prayer. O gracious and Holy One, thank you. Thank you for gathering us here to celebrate Joe's life, to give thanks in our deepest being for his way in this world, his way that was so loving, that was so leading, that was so caring for each person in this room and many beyond it, we know. Thank you for his laughter, for his incredible strengths, for his passions for social justice, and for his principles that he stood by. Thank you for his loyalty and for his love of music and the ways that he mastered games and skills and business. Thank you for each word that has been said here, that has come from a place of deepest love and connection. These words and each person's connection to Joe are a gift that no doubt each one will put in a chest or a journal or a memory that they carry with them from this day forward. We are sad for Joe Grafton leaving this earthly plane. And we would hope and pray that he now lives free from pain and disappointment, from the deep sorrows and worries and regrets that he might have carried. Thank you, loving one, for surrounding him in light and love. Thank you also for the ways that he will live on through each person here and the many, many, many people and communities that he touched. I offer these words that I know are not nearly enough, with gratitude for this time together and for your sustaining spirit of comfort. Amen. Thank you for this song. Couple of things. Aurelio, thank you for the sound and the connections. Gareth, thank you for your contributions from afar. Each person who has spoken, Jess, Dabu, others, what gifts you are to Joe and to one another. I also want to thank Suzanne for connecting us. Suzanne is Joe's aunt, and I'm just so deeply, deeply grateful. There are envelopes that might be filled with pictures. I'm going to hand these to you for now. Aurelio and Nicola, thank you, have set up pictures on the boards in the hallway with the intention of them not being permanent, but being taken home by people who maybe see themselves in one of those pictures or just love that picture of Joe so much that you would want to take that as something to carry with you in your days ahead. So just know that if you start taking a picture off of a board, that's what they want you to do, okay? Maybe give people a chance to look at them, but then they are meant to be disassembled as we leave this place and taken for all the joy and life that are contained in them, for your sharing. Is there anything else that needs to be shared in this space before we make our way? Okay, if not, I just want to bless you. This is a very, very kind of Christian part of me that wants you to go from this place blessed by the love of the divine, blessed by hope and peace in your inner being, blessed by each other. So as we make our way, I would also love for you to not be quiet in your leaving, but to be connecting with each other. Boy, in my community, we're really big on peace, like peace be with you, but maybe there is something else that you need to say to each other. It may be that, but it may be love, it may be let's stay connected and exchanging contact information. Whatever that is, just know that this space is here for you as long as you need to be here, and that I am in the building here for you if you should need anything as well. So may you go grateful for having come.